Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dreadful Discussions. I am one of your hosts, Joel Austin.
And I am your host, Caleb Jones, and today we are dreadfully discussing Dead Rabbit by Joseph Murnane. Thank you for joining us, Joseph.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, off the top, I wanted to say how much I really loved this book. Um, I thought it was just such a powerful read. I read it once a while back, and then I read it again for this discussion, and just I loved every second of it. Where did the inspiration for it come from?
From living and working at a wolf sanctuary for a year.
That's so
Uh,
cool.
yeah, it was a really cool chapter of my life that I wanted to do something with. A big thing that I think about in the stories that I have done and that I have planned out are like settings that I've lived in that
Hmm.
that I just wanted to revisit and do something with. So that was about just giving me a chance to go back to the wolf sanctuary, um, so to speak, and also the scene with the rabbit hunt.
Hmm.
That is 100% true and exactly how it happened.
Oh my God.
And so I, never really stopped thinking about that afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene in general, I really identified with because I like fish, but not like I'm a catch and release type of guy. Like I'm not fishing for food, and I'm definitely not a hunter. I could just see myself in that situation, like kind of being pulled off to enter, like required to do something like that, and then like kind of fucking it up a little bit, and then just being like, oh man, I feel really shitty about this now.
Yeah, it was not ideal. We tried for a very long time to get him out from under those logs. Um, I don't remember what the seasons are like in the story, but in real life, it was the dead of winter,
Oh.
Oh
and
god.
it was really cold, and like we couldn't feel our hands, and we couldn't move those logs, and we tried our hardest, but we couldn't get to them.
That's
Man.
brutal. um I I could tell from the afterword that you had written that there's some roots in like addiction recovery to the story. Obviously, it's evident in the narrative itself, and it feels like some of what you're talking about is almost like a connection to nature, to kind of overcome those past traumas. Is that something that you feel pretty personally strong about as well?
Yeah, well, if I don't know if you guys have read my other one, It Eats Your Hunger. If that one is about my active addiction, Dead Rabbit is about when I started putting myself back together and trying to figure out how to be a person again. And yeah, it was two things that made the difference there. Um, would be, yeah, that connection to nature you're talking about, and also just hard work.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of what I was trying to bring out in that last scene where he just cleans the kitchen
Mhm.
Yeah.
before he has to go do what he has to go do. Um, and because that was, it's really hard to think about getting fucked up when you're out in the middle of the desert and you have a million things to do and you're always so tired and um yeah, so I wanted to bring like that work to the forefront, maybe even a little more than addiction in general. That's kind of why I kind of mention it in the beginning, but then I never really circle back to that
Yeah.
because I mean really I wrote the addiction book already. That was um not in my mind a main focus of Dead Rabbit.
Sure. Do you see those two books as companion pieces?
Um, Only in terms of like as they're tracking my progression. Like those two were both very personal with a whole lot of truth and a whole lot of like real events and real settings. And as I'm going further down my road here, I'm uh straying further and further away from my actual lived experience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, like, the next thing I have coming, I'm hoping for December, is just totally crazy and completely outside of things that I actually know about.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Um,
That'll be fun.
that's great.
This book was significantly shorter than It Eats Your Hunger, which I loved both of them. This one definitely seemed, I feel like it resonated a little stronger with me. What was the writing process for this one compared to It Eats Your Hunger?
well, Hunger took me 14 months to write. It was plagued through the whole process of me telling myself, like, this is impossible, you can't do this. um this is not something anybody's going to want to read, and you're really just doing this to process the things you need to process, and that's okay. um
Yeah.
so I just banged my head against a wall for a year until I think it was like April Fool's Day when I typed the end. And I and I actually I write on my phone. Um
hmm
and I dropped it because my hands were shaking so bad.
Oh man.
Um and Dead Rabbit, I had kind of been building to some extent in my head for a really long time because I always knew I wanted to do something with the wolf sanctuary.
Right.
Like there's a little bit of wolf stuff kind of mentioned and referenced in Hunger,
Mm.
but I wanted to really go to that place. So I always knew I was going to. Um, but then I won the Dead Rabbit cover. Well, to be more exact, Alexis won it and gave it to me,
That's great.
like to pick one of Ruth Anna's premates. Um, so I when she posted that cover, I was like, oh, that would be perfect for the Wolf Sanctuary thing I want to do. And it was a couple of months before AuthorCon, and I really wanted to have two books on my table. Um, so I wrote Dead Rabbit in about 30 days.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
and like it was a lot easier um, because I knew I could already.
hmm
I there's I think that imposter syndrome doesn't ever really go away, but every time it reared its head, I was able to be like, well, shut up, you already did
Yeah.
this.
We did this
And
once, we can do it again.
yeah, and the goal was always a 30,000 word novella.
Okay.
Right.
So it was much less daunting
Yeah.
because like you get 10,000 words into a 60,000 word novel and you're like, oh man, I still have so far to go. But you get 10,000 words into a 30,000 word book, and then you're like, wow, I'm a third of the way done, and then that just kind of snowballs. Um, and it's kind of the same thing is happening right now because the next thing I'm putting out is also about planned to be about 30,000. Um, so I know that I'm like I can already see the end. I think it's kind of a sweet spot for me. I think I'm going to write a lot of these. Um, I'm also working on a novel that I'm hoping to finish the draft on by like spring. But I really like doing these shorter ones.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's cool. Are you more of a pantser or a plotter in that in your writing? You said that Dead
Um,
Rabbit was kind of formed in your head before, but when you
yeah,
actually
well,
got to writing.
the Rabbit Man was
Okay.
like I knew about him, um, and it was really easy for me to start because basically the first 10,000 words are pretty much all true for the most part. So I was just kind of recounting memories. Um, but oh man, I lost track.
Um,
Uh,
um,
pantsing or plotting.
oh yeah, yeah. So generally, like with this thing that I'm doing now with hunger, and with rabbit, although I had more of the beginning lined up, I pretty much know how I want it to start because I'll write a prologue or a chapter one and be like and be happy with it and where I'm starting, and then I'll know where I want it to end, and then everything in the middle is pantsed,
yeah,
um, more or less, because I just need to know where I'm starting. I need to know where I'm going, and I may have some ideas for scenes that are going to come up or
Mhm.
things I want to happen, but a lot of those things won't happen or they'll happen differently or um and I always find that if I just kind of let things kind of randomly occur, it comes up with something maybe a little more satisfying than whatever plan I may be trying to force. Like Hunger, originally, I actually had like a beat for beat every chapter outlined, and I did just about none of that. Um, he Ren in that one was supposed to travel alone through the whole story.
Mhm.
Um, he was there was not going to be any supernatural shit. Like
Oh,
he was going to
wow.
be seeing the ghost, but it was going to be ambiguous as to whether or not that was in his head.
Hmm.
Um, and then I watched the movie Near Dark, and I was like, huh, maybe it'd be better if I just put him with a group of people and they just traveled together in this van. Um, and it kind of gave us a lot more of an anchor and more of a story than like he was gonna travel with those guys for like a little bit and then leave and go meet other people and I think that book would have sucked. Um, so I definitely like if something feels like it's not making the right kind of sense, I will do the next random thing I can think of. And so far, that's been serving me pretty well.
I
yeah,
love it. That's
that's
cool.
cool. Um, so I mean, obviously, a central figure of the story is this rabbit man creature. Um, and I love when somebody can really surprise me with the creature feature. You know, you always think that everything's been done, and then when I got to that, I was like, huh, that's a creature that I haven't seen, but feels like something that somebody has lived with or like passed around their friends. Like, you know, this desert, this area is haunted by this man rabbit. um so was that like something that actually existed within your real community at the wolf sanctuary, or was that something that came out of the situation and how you were feeling after that very real moment with the rabbit that you had?
Well, so that's also like part of my failed plotting. Was that originally um, the idea was kind of born out of a combination of that experience hunting the rabbit and the phenomenon of rabbit starvation, um, where if you only eat rabbit meat, you're gonna get really sick because it's too lean. It doesn't really it just can't sustain you on its own.
Right.
So the original like bare bones outline concept was kind of like a play on Thinner,
Okay.
um,
Right.
where he was going to just get hungrier and hungrier and hungrier,
Hmm.
and and then the Rabbit Man himself, like the actual monster, just kind of showed himself to me. Um, that was like another thing that like he wasn't really, it wasn't originally going to be like an actual, it wasn't going to be a creature feature.
Yeah.
Um, I was always aiming for quiet horror,
Hmm.
um, where I wanted it to make people uneasy. Um, but I was never aiming for anything like really violent or anything like that. I was really going for like atmosphere and mood. And yeah, he just kind of showed up one day and stayed in my head.
Yeah. That's kind of that's the reason I personally really love pantsing as opposed to plotting. What you're saying reminds me of have you seen the movie Barbarian?
I actually just rewatched that like 2 nights ago.
Yeah. There's a lot of interviews of Zach Kreger, the guy that wrote and directed it, talking about like he started out with this very standard like home like mix up like shared space mix up for like Airbnb, and then like he got to a point where he's like, man, I'm kind of bored writing this, and he's like, then a crazy looking like goblin woman walks out of the shadows and clobbers the guy. And then that's where the rest of the movie came from because he had like literally none of the second half of the movie. And I love when a story just does that. And
Yeah,
you can feel it. Yeah.
I actually have a that's like almost the exact same kind of thing happened with Hunger. Um, that first scene where we meet the little monster in the
Mhm.
van that's talking to Lefty. Um, that was like he just came out of nowhere, that little guy, and completely changed the whole trajectory beyond like having him stay with the that gang of people. This little monster showed up, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a totally different thing now. Um, and so yeah, I can definitely see that. I also really like Zach Kreger. I haven't seen Weapons yet,
Yeah, yeah.
but you know I've been a lifelong fan of the guy because of
Yeah.
Whitest Kids You
Whitest
Know.
kids you know, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny to see his sensibilities from his sketch comedy kind of work its way and still show through somewhat in his movies. Weapons is incredible as well. Um,
Yeah, I'm excited to see that one.
yeah. Um, so the the drive to the sanctuary. I'm assuming that that also you said like the first 10,000 words of this is pretty much autobiography.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me more about that and like the encounter with the hitchhiker. Um, was this something that they even encouraged you to do when they first like hired you at the sanctuary?
Um, what do you mean? Uh,
Like
like
they kind
to
of like a couple weeks worth of like journeying across the country. It's cool. There's almost like this side quest, like uh little vignette of you like traveling or the character Adam traveling across the country to get to the sanctuary. I was wondering what inspired that and like him picking up the hitchhiker of the abused girl and
um,
yeah.
well, her name was Emilia. I changed it to Amelia. Um, and I didn't actually pick her up as a hitchhiker. I made a Craigslist post that I was heading to New Mexico from North Carolina, and if anybody wanted a ride, like I was just looking for some help with gas and stuff. Um, and this girl answered, and I actually went out of my way and picked her up in Kentucky. Um, and then yeah, other than that, that's pretty much exactly how it went down in the story. We made it to Arkansas before her mom threatened her cat, and I had to take her to a bus station and send her back. Um, the end, where I come to find out that she's all right. That's wish fulfillment. I don't know. Um, she told me when we were traveling together that her kidneys were failing
Mm,
and that she was done with treatment.
yeah.
Um, so I like to think she's still out there somewhere, but there's just no way to know. Um,
Yeah.
uh, so I don't know about that, but the other part of that, like stopping with to see my friend from school in Arkansas, like that happened too. We were best friends from like the first grade through ninth grade, and then we drifted apart. And when I left the school I was at that we were at, and he moved to Arkansas, um, so that was the first time we'd seen each other in many many years.
Yeah.
Uh, and then when I moved back from the West Coast, I stopped and saw him again. Um, but yeah, his name's Dylan. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know you like definitely want to differentiate between like the addiction narrative and hunger and then kind of the journey beyond. But uh not necessarily having experienced like a severe addiction, but having experienced a very tough period of life where I got to the end of it and like didn't really know next steps necessarily. That felt very, very real of just like I had like my own like drive across the country. I drove from Oklahoma to Virginia where I live now and just like, man, I don't really know necessarily what's at the end of the drive, but I know that it's not what was behind me. Um, and just like it feels very, very true to life. Obviously, it is true to life for you, of like getting to the end of a rough chapter and just being like, whatever is here, fuck that. I need to get on to whatever is coming next.
Yeah, I was just trying to, because I knew if I just stayed here that I was just gonna keep falling back into old cycles.
Mhm.
So just like leaving alone, as scary as it was, to go do something totally crazy, like go live in a hut in the middle of the desert. Like I didn't have power in my little house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Um, I had solar panels attached to a bunch of car batteries, and it was a pretty shitty system. Um, it would on the brightest, hottest, sunniest day, it would charge up enough for like 15 minutes of light, like just long enough to get my fire going if I needed to do that, or get set up with whatever little movie I was gonna watch on my laptop. Um, so it was uh, a very very different experience than anything I'd ever uh, gone through, like let alone the job and being surrounded
Right.
by wolves every day. Just being in such like a bare bones little concrete hut uh, with kerosene lanterns. And because like after the first couple of months, I stopped bothering to even use what little bit of power
Mhm.
uh, I got from those batteries. And now um, that little hut has like constant electricity and like Wi-Fi. Like there's high speed Wi-Fi all over the sanctuary now,
Man.
and when I was there, we didn't have that at all. Like we could get online and like post pictures on our Facebooks and stuff. But we weren't allowed to like try and watch YouTube videos or anything like that because it would just overload it, kill it. Um, so it was a much different lifestyle than the people that are living and working there now have.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really awesome.
almost like it almost feels unfortunate. Like I mean, obviously, maybe like probably not everybody that's going there is looking for the same things that you were when you were going there or when your character
Yeah,
in the story was
a
going
lot of
there.
people, when I was there, there were several people that came, and like there was this one girl who came all the way from Wales, and she said she was going to stay for a year, and I think she lasted like 6 weeks,
Yeah,
Oh,
um, before she just had to go, because a lot of people want to go out there because of what a wonderful, fantastical adventure it sounds like. But then you can get there and you got to process 5,000 pounds of bullet ridden elk meat, and you're like, ah man, this is
this is
this is
tough
pretty
work.
tough.
yeah,
That's wild. Yeah, it sounds like a really fun experience, but yeah, the gruesome side of it definitely is not for the faint of heart or the faint of spirit. Um, so obviously you and Adam, or you connected with Adam as a main character. But leaving him aside, what character was your favorite to write and how true to life were they?
um, well, seeing as I only gave a few characters like a spotlight,
Hmm.
um, I'd have to give it to the RB character. He is based on my friend Brian. Um, and which is funny as a total accident. There actually was a guy who lived in the community named RB. Um, but his name was Rising Buffalo, and it was a total just like accident that it happened that way. Um, but I really liked writing Brian as just like the guy I knew, just like a regular ass dude. Like that was kind of a goal for that was to for the story was to indict the mystic Indian trope.
yeah,
Hmm.
Um, and I wanted to put that into my main characters like misconceptions, like, oh, there's this thing going out here in the desert in on reservation land. So obviously the Indian guy is going to know how to fix it. And
Right.
but he was just a dude that lived in a trailer near the wolf sanctuary. We would hang out and watch like we watched Ted uh back then. Like that was like his favorite movie. Um and yeah, so I just wanted to write just like a guy
yeah,
and take all of that like expected mysticism out of it because Brian was just a really funny dude. And I definitely missed that guy a whole lot. Um, the the director, Everett Drayton, is kind of based on the guy who hired me back then, guy named Leighton Cougar, um, who taught me a whole lot. That really weird job interview on the
Hmm.
phone in the beginning, that is also like exactly how I got hired. He
Oh,
called me
wow.
and asked me about my parents, and and I told him about my mom and stuff, and he really did say I expected that, and I was like, what the fuck do you mean?
Wow. That's
Uh,
cryptic.
yeah, he was a very intense guy.
Yeah.
Um, and I learned a ton from him. Uh, and then Contessa was was really big. Her story's pretty much how it happened. Like she belonged to a radio DJ in Boston, and they did great for a bunch of years until that guy got a girlfriend, and and Contessa kept trying to kill her.
Oh my
So,
God.
so I ended up, like I fell in love with the picture of Contessa on the website, and
Mhm.
very quickly got assigned to take care of her, and cared for her the entire time I was there. Like you could rotate enclosures. Like people would everybody was assigned like 4 to 6 different enclosures,
No.
and she was kind of a middle of the road intensity animal.
Mhm.
Um, and as I moved to the more I hesitate to say dangerous, but the more the animals you got to be more careful with. As I started working with them, I had, the opportunity to take more and more of those kinds of guys on. But I just kept Contessa
Yeah.
because I loved her very much. And then later, after I left, I went and lived in Washington, and then I went and lived down to California. And then I get a phone call one day that she was sick, and they didn't know how long she had. And I immediately booked a flight and flew down to New Mexico like the next day. And I still didn't get there in time.
Uh,
Um, and so that sucked, but it was cool that like, as soon as she got sick, everybody there was like, we need to call Joey.
Yeah.
And I flew into Albuquerque. They came and picked me up, and I think she passed while I was on the plane.
Man.
Um, but they came and picked me up, and I went, and I still got to stay there for a week and see all the other critters I knew. Um, but but yeah, I'd say my I guess that's pretty much all the characters. But I it was just really cool to like revisit everybody in that way.
Yeah.
yeah.
Especially Romeo. Romeo was a really cool dude. He lived to be like 20 years old,
Wow.
um, which is pretty unheard of for a red fox. He had the best life, and did not get skinned by a rabbit monster.
That's
Uh,
good. That's good.
Yeah, it's funny to like talk about those things side by side or parallel to each other. The native mystic trope that you actively push against, which that scene in the book actually gave me a good chuckle, and I was like, there we go. This is just a normal guy. That's what I want. But pairing that with like there almost is feels like a almost mystic connection between the characters and the animals that they are working with, um, which I mean I feel like I keep circling back around to it, but that almost feels like part of the recovery arc of like there's almost like this like power working face to face with this beast
yeah, and that and
easily
that
could kill
power
them. Yeah,
and that power doesn't have like an identity. I think that anybody looking for it can can tap into it. Um, another true thing was when I got there. I first arrived. It was the end of the workday. This guy George um, brought me to was bringing me out to the place I was going to live. I didn't start in that little hut that I ended up in. I was in a little Airstream Silver Bullet, um, and he took me over there, and then asked if I wanted to see a wolf, and then he brought me to his Contessa's enclosure. This guy named Forrest, and yeah, I mean, he made fun of me for a long time after that because of the way I just like fell apart when that wolf looked at me. Um, he and Forrest was a really cool dude. He was one of our ambassadors, so he would actually go out on the road to schools and stuff and um, be part of like presentations.
That's really neat.
But yeah, it's a really strong. thing. Um, and uh, anybody who wants it can find it. But I think that a lot of people just forget to look for that.
Yeah. It could be like that situation with the gal from Wales where they think they want it and they don't want it quite that bad, which is
Yeah, I,
which
I
is
probably
yeah.
never would have left. The only reason I left was because, well, my mom had passed like 7 years before I went, and after I was at the wolf sanctuary. I had no intention of really ever leaving. And then I get a phone call from some accountant that had been looking for me for all this time, that my mom had left me a life insurance policy,
Hmm.
and that nobody in the family knew about. Um, and it wasn't a lot. It was just like a few grand. And so when I got that, it was like, okay, either I stay here, I slowly burn through it, um, and then I'm here forever, or I take this chunk of change and use it to go move on with my life.
Yeah.
Because that was never going to happen. Uh, because I got paid $50 a week at the Wolf Sanctuary, and volunteers don't get paid anything. I
Right.
I I was given that because I had my dogs. I was basically just given that small stipend for dog food.
Yeah.
Um, so there was never going to be an opportunity for me to leave if I ever decided I wanted to, um, if I didn't do it right then.
Right.
Sure.
All I was saying is, like, at that point, I felt like if I did stay, I was really just like putting off my life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because like it was really special to be out there in the desert, hanging out with wolves all day, and it's kind of similar to addiction in the way that, like, I only had this one thing I had to worry about.
Hmm.
And so I had to get up, I had to go feed my animals, I had to go guide some tours, I had to go make myself some dinner, and I had to go to bed, and that was all I had to think about. I didn't have to think about my future or school or finding a girlfriend. I didn't have to think about like any of the stuff that people need to do in their lives. I just had to go do my job.
Right.
So even though I was kind of internally struggling against it, like it was time to go.
Yeah. Um, I think we're wrapping up, and surprisingly, we didn't go too far into spoilers, which is
Yeah.
a rarity on this show. We usually spoil the hell out of everything, so I'll avoid that. Something lightly spoilery. So if you haven't read it at this point, go read it and stop the video. But at the end, it's almost not even implied really. It's indicated that Adam almost is offered like the lead role at the sanctuary. Was there any kind of like obviously a rabbit man didn't come and like wreak havoc, but was there any kind of like shakeup like that while you were there where you could have maybe gotten into a more official role with your
um, if I had stayed, eventually I would have been a senior person.
yeah.
Um, the character of Rev, the animal care supervisor, was another one of my friends there. Um, After a couple years after I left, she left. If
Mm,
I had still been there, I probably would have stepped into that role, just because people generally come for 3 months, 6 months. People don't generally sign up for a year, and people don't do what I did, which was just like, we'll see.
yeah.
maybe I'll stay forever. So if I don't know, I kind of doubt that I ever would have ended up as like the full on director of the place.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, but if I had stayed, I definitely would have ended up as an actual paid employee,
Yeah.
of which there were very few.
Sure.
Uh, there was the head of maintenance got paid, the head administrator got paid, and the head of animal care got paid. Everybody else was volunteer. Um, so eventually, I probably would have filled that role if I was there today. I'd probably be high up in the structure.
Gotcha. Very cool.
That is very cool. So you teased you're in the midst of another project. Would you like to share a little bit about it? You said you're hoping to have something released by December and then another something by finished by next spring.
Yeah. Okay. So the spring novel, I'm still keeping real under wraps.
Sure.
But the novella that I'm trying to put out in December, it's called Hostile Architecture. Um, it is about a homeless man
Ah,
who is drawn into this kind of liminal hellscape dimension that is his um basically a critique of how we treat the homeless and the corruption that comes with greed.
Hmm.
Um, I started writing it the day after that big beautiful bill passed.
Yep.
Um, so it's probably it's a little more political than maybe I would normally write.
Sure.
Um, but I'm real excited for it. I'm hoping in the next couple of weeks to actually do a cover reveal. Matt Seth Barnes did the cover for it,
oh, yeah,
uh,
great.
and so I'm real happy with that. And yeah, it's there's some allegory, a lot of Hunter S. Thompson kind of injected into it and
Wonderful.
into the main character. I've been through the course of this and for months before that, I've been working my way through all the Gonzo papers,
Yep.
which is like a couple hundred hours of lunatic ravings.
They're so
Um,
fun though.
uh, and so that one is very it's very precious to me, and it's also like I was saying before, like way outside my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
As far as like I'm not telling my story anymore. I'm telling a story.
That's
um,
fun. I'm real excited for that. That sounds like a
and
blast.
and it's very I'm also finding that I'm definitely leaning more and more like bizarre and surrealist. So there's just a lot of really weird stuff in there, like rivers of worms and eagle-headed monsters and all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's also going back to like what we were talking about before with like the random things that occur to you. And so I just think, well, like, what if all these people were chained to the ground and eagle-headed businessmen came and pecked all their eyes out? And so let's just write that scene and see how that goes. I mean, I have him fall into a painting into the ocean, like a bunch of really just out there stuff. And I think that that's kind of what can be expected of me moving forward is just
Love
getting
it.
crazier and crazier.
That's good. That's the times are calling for it.
um, yeah, I really like I know they can be seen as kind of a cop out, I guess, but I really like dream sequences. I just really like the limitless potential of this space where you can just make anything happen and it's not going to break any rules because there aren't really any.
Right.
Um,
There's
and
a
it's
the guy I share a publisher with that he's a real hater on. on dream sequences, and I personally love them. I think that they're an awesome way to display something incredibly fucked up while also saying something about what's going on in the subconscious of your character. And a book full
Yeah, I mean, going back
I'm
to,
down with it.
huh?
I said a book full of that I am super down for. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and kind of going back to like what I was saying about how hunger originally wasn't going to be supernatural at all. Um, there's a lot of dreams in hunger because that was supposed to be my place to do whatever I wanted and keep this like concrete grounded reality on the outside of that.
Mhm.
But then all that stuff just started bleeding out of the dreams and into the main storylines, and I just rolled with that.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I think that's all I've got today. Caleb, anything else from you?
No, no, I was it's a great book, and I'm very, very happy to read it, and very excited to see what's coming next for you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure you guys get arcs
All right.
Yeah,
when I wrap this up.
Oh,
awesome.
cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. So for viewers and listeners, I don't think we have a book picked out, but uh, things are kind of picking up over at Purgatory Media, which is where we'll be probably announcing whatever our next book is for Dreadful Discussions. And
Yeah,
so keep an eye out for that page and go read some of Joseph's books. They're great.
they are amazing.
All right,
Well,
thanks for having me, guys.
Joey, thanks for being on this.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll
All right,
talk to you
guys.
later.
All right, see you
Yeah.
later.
Bye.